Hello and welcome. Tonight, a reality check into the paranoia, scaremongering and evasion of responsibility surrounding Rohingya Muslims in India and in the Myanmar of Aung San Suu Kyi. Today, the Nobel laureate was meant to finally respond with humanity to the growing international condemnation of her government's actions against the Rohingyas. Instead, she appeared to toe the line of Myanmar's military junta by refusing to criticize the army and to downplay the extent of atrocity.
I think it is very little known that the great majority of Muslims in the Rakhine state have not joined the exodus.
Surprising, given that reports suggest that close to 400,000 Rohingyas, which is close to half their population of 1 million, are said to have fled the violence in the past 4 weeks. She then seemed to feign ignorance over the reasons for the mass exodus.
We are concerned to hear that numbers of Muslims are fleeing across the border to Bangladesh. We want to find out why this exodus is happening.
Why the exodus is happening? Well, the United Nations has called it the closest to a textbook example of ethnic cleansing. Now, ground evidence of the extent of atrocities has been scarce given the lack of independent access to Rakhine province, the epicenter of the violence. But Ms. Suu Kyi may want to look at these satellite images accessed by Human Rights Watch, which shows over 200 villages almost totally destroyed in Rakhine state. She also seemed to blame the Rohingyas for starting the violence.
Unhappily, on 9th October, 18 days after the delivery of my address at the General Assembly, 3 police outposts were attacked by armed Muslim groups. There were further attacks on 11th October and 12th November.
Now, even if Rohingya insurgent groups did start the violence, does that merit the kind of response that we witnessed of almost 50% of Rohingyas driven out of their home? The United Nations itself has come out clearly saying that the Aung San Suu Kyi government did not do enough to protect civilians. Now, the Suu Kyi line unfortunately has had an ally in India, which has doubled down on its tough stance on Rohingyas. In response to a petition challenging its decision to deport Rohingyas, the centre has filed a 16-page affidavit filled with sensational claims. It says the central government has inputs indicating linkages of some of the unauthorized Rohingyas with Pakistan-based terror organizations. It says that Rohingyas are indulging in illegal and anti-national activities like hundi and hawala channels. It says that the Rohingyas figure in the suspected sinister designs of ISIS. It says that Rohingyas with a militant background are also found to be active in Jammu, Delhi, Hyderabad and Mewat. But government agencies themselves seem to have little evidence of such claims. The Chief Minister of Jammu and Kashmir, the state which has the largest number of Rohingyas, has told the Assembly that there is no Rohingya in Jammu and Kashmir who's been found involved in militancy-related incidents. No instance of radicalization of these foreigners has been reported so far. 17 FIRs registered against Rohingyas for various offences, including illegal border crossing.
The breakup of these 17 FIRs from 2004 to 2016 shows that 2 cases are against Bangladeshis and 1 case is against a Pakistani. So effectively, only 14 FIRs are against Rohingyas. NDTV has managed to get details of all 14 FIRs.
So that was the story from Jammu. 14 FIRs, not a single one of terrorism. But also in Delhi, in Rajasthan and Haryana, also hubs for Rohingyas in India, we heard the same from the police. No evidence of any radicalization. The centre's affidavit also reiterates the government's stance that they are well within their rights to deport Rohingyas, since their entry into India is illegal and that India is not signatory to UN treaties on refugees. But as we reported on this very show, these guidelines by the Home Ministry allow those fleeing persecution on account of race, religion, sex, nationality and ethnic identity as being eligible for a long-term visa. It also says that a foreigner for whom a long-term visa has been permitted by the Home Ministry will not be considered illegal. It also says no such foreign national will be deported without specific clearance from the Home Ministry. Moreover, our teams found a number of Rohingyas right here in Delhi, in the heart of the national capital, with long-term visas issued by the Home Ministry.
यूनिसेफ से परमिशन लेना पड़ता है। हम वीज़ा बनाना चाहते हैं और इसके लिए एप्लीकेशन देता है, उसको लेके हमारा ऑफिस जाना पड़ता है। वहाँ भी इंटरव्यू होता है बराबर सेम जहाँ इस कार्ड के लिए हुआ, उसके बाद जाके वीज़ा मिलता है। 2014 से हमें मिल रहा है, कम से कम 2-3 इंटरव्यू होने के बाद ही मिलता है।
Right, joining me tonight to debate this, Chandan Mitra representing the BJP. Thanks very much indeed for being with us. Also, Jaiveer Shergill of the Congress is here with us, as is Colin Gonsalves, leading human rights lawyer, someone who's been fighting for the Rohingyas in the Supreme Court. Chandan Mitra, this seems extraordinary that the government of India is telling the Supreme Court that Rohingyas are a national security threat, when a government in Jammu and Kashmir, this is a BJP PDP government mind you, is telling the assembly that there is no evidence of any terror related threat of the Rohingyas. What's going on?
Well, in one state where a few Rohingyas were sent by India only to be resettled, and there was so much disturbance in Jammu, citizens protested vigorously, saying that we don't want these people in our midst because they will become Pakistani agents in no time. As it is, the state is disturbed.
But there's
and
no
please
evidence
take them
of
back.
that.
So many of them had to be taken back.
No, no,
Well,
but the state government is telling the assembly there's no evidence of that.
Why do we need evidence? Sorry, what do we need evidence for? And who do we need the evidence about? They are illegal immigrants. We don't need evidence to throw them out. This
No,
is,
no, once again.
There is no real debate on the subject.
No, no, but Chandan, just a second. We're not talking here about the illegality. I'll come to that in a second. We're talking about the claims made in the centre's affidavit, which I just read out, a series of highly alarmist statements about how Rohingyas pose a terrorist threat. They are seen to have been radicalized. They have links with ISIS. They're involved in militant activities. As we just showed you, it's both in Jammu, as well as in Delhi, as well as in Rajasthan, as well as in Haryana. In every single state, the police of those states are telling us that there is no evidence of these threats.
So only on Monday, the Delhi police arrested a person who was busy, or rather was trying to indoctrinate Rohingya refugees.
Yes.
He was involved with the ISIS,
Right.
and he was a British national of Bangladeshi origin, and he was arrested for that. So what do you mean evidence? I mean, there is enough evidence, and there have been, many of them have been around for quite some time.
No,
we
but
know
Chandan,
that they are involved with the ISIS and Pakistanis,
Okay,
and why should we wait for any further evidence?
No,
We
so
must throw them back.
here's what I'm not able to understand. There's no doubt that the Rohingyas, like any community around the world, are not insulated from extremism. There is a Rohingya extremist group fighting the Myanmarese army. But why would that be the basis for a blanket ban or a blanket deportation or a blanket demonization of all Rohingyas?
Vasu, Rohingyas are not our people. They are Myanmar's unwanted children. We don't want Myanmar's unwanted children to become a moral and material burden for India.
Okay.
We have enough burdens as it is. Many people have already sneaked in, and we've faced a lot of difficulty with such illegal intruders, Bangladeshis, Chakmas, and so on and so forth. Sorry, we don't need to add to these problems.
Colin Gonsalves, what would you say to the fact that we don't want to load on to India's problems by accepting the Rohingyas, who are the unwanted children of Myanmar?
It's ironical, 15 or 20 years ago, if you look at the Supreme Court judgments on Chakmas, when 100,000 Chakmas came to India, the pleadings in the Supreme Court were, 1, that they were terrorists, 2, that they were creating a law and order situation and attacking the local population, and 3, India couldn't bear to have such a big burden of 100,000 people, and it was an economic drain on the economy. And ironically, 3 days ago, Rijiju, Home Minister for State, made a wonderful statement. I must say a wonderful statement. He said, we are making all these 100,000 Chakmas in accordance with the Supreme Court judgment. We agree, and we are making all of them citizens of India, and we are going to settle them. And a 3-decade legal battle came to an end with the government of India showing true broad-mindedness, as it actually should do in the case of Rohingyas.
So is that then, Chandan Mitra,
Mr. Gonzalez,
does that then lead us to the
I'm
conclusion?
sorry, I just want to respond.
Does that lead us to the unfortunate conclusion that the stance that the government has taken on Rohingyas is a political stance, it's a sectarian stance, it's a communal stance?
We don't have to go into all that. They are simply illegal immigrants. They have illegally entered India and they are going to cause problems. Even in the case of Chakmas, which Mr. Gonzalez was talking about,
yes.
I wish you knew the amount of trouble they created in Arunachal Pradesh, and it's only after so many years that the government decided that you can't do anything much about them.
I just,
the poor Buddhists who've been turfed out by Bangladesh, we have to somehow.
Okay, Chandan Mitra, again, let's stick to the facts. When you go on repeating the fact that they're illegal, as we just showed you, the MHA has guidelines which permit those who are fleeing persecution to apply for long-term visas and gain legal status. So that doesn't automatically make them illegal. Moreover, as we also showed you, there are a number of Rohingyas who've actually been granted long-term visas by the Home Ministry under this government. So where does the question of illegality come in?
They may have
5,000
individual cases are different. Individual cases are different. I'm sure if 10, 12 Rohingyas apply for a visa, they might even get it. But
no, the number is much more.
Thousands and lakhs.
5,000.
The number is much more. Colin Gonzalez, you are saying the number is 5,000?
5,000. Vasu, can I come in?
Yes. Come in.
Yeah.
5,000 Rohingyas out of 40,000. Let me give you the figures.
Yes.
Let me give you the figures. Out of 40,000 Rohingyas, 15,000 have been cleared by the UNHCR as genuine refugees, and the others are waiting in line. They've not been rejected, they're waiting in line. Out of these 15,000 Rohingyas, 5,000 long-term visas have been processed, and 5,000 Rohingyas have got long-term visas. And the rest are waiting in line for long-term visas in accordance with the Government of India guidelines. So there's no question of them being terrorists at all. We have gone to Jammu and Kashmir. I have been to the 23 camps. I inquired everywhere. Is there a single case of terrorism against any Rohingya in Jammu? There's not a single case. I went with your team to Delhi, and in the Delhi camp we asked them, is there a single case of terrorism? Not a single case.
Well, that's actually the stance taken by the Jammu and Kashmir government on the floor of the House. Jayaveer Shergill, if I can bring you in, the Congress has been somewhat wishy-washy about all of this. You've not come out and clearly said that there must be adherence to the rule of law, there must be the approach of humanity. What are you trying to play both sides here?
No, let me clear the fog today. Firstly, I think national security is supreme. Our obligations under the international law cannot overshadow our own commitment to national security. But having said that, and Mr. Mitra keeps on saying no evidence, and we are not emperors. The decision, if it has to be based of deportation based on national security, will have to be backed by actual concrete evidence. The Supreme Court, fortunately for both you and me, works on evidence rather than blanket approach statements given by the government. The government will have to satisfy the conscience of the court. What evidence do they have in their pocket, which is ultimately leading to deportation? And thirdly, Mr. Mitra, Mr. Atal Bihari Vajpayee in 2001 signed the Bangkok Principles on Status and Treatment of Refugees. Article 5 says if they are facing persecution in their nation, they have to be kept in this country. Let me last point. And you know, I didn't interrupt you. All I'm saying is
wherever the world people will
all I'm saying is if there are threat to
why can't they go to Bangladesh?
Mr. Mitra, all I'm saying is if there are threat to national security, please deport them, but do not have a blanket approach by branding them everybody terrorists, because that's the fodder terrorist groups are looking for.